This is the Highly Sensitive Club, episode number 41.
Have you been told you're too sensitive, too dramatic, or too much? Do you have big feelings and deep thoughts you don't always know what to do with? I'm Stephanie Linn, a certified life coach and highly sensitive person. I've helped dozens of highly sensitive clients feel more energized, more confident, and more in control of their high sensitivity. In these episodes, you'll get the information and inspiration to level up your life as a highly sensitive person too. Welcome to the Highly Sensitive Club.
Hello there, highly sensitive person, and welcome to this week's episode of the Highly Sensitive Club. This week's topic is about very simple, very easy ways for you as a highly sensitive person and as a neurodivergent person to overcome overstimulation in your life and to start to reset your nervous system. I am always learning, much as you probably are always learning, listening to podcasts, taking courses, reading books, and I just happened to listen to Marie Forleo's recent episode about 8 ways to overcome overstimulation. And it caught my attention because overstimulation is a huge buzzword for high sensitivity and for neurodivergence. And I know that she has said she has ADHD. I would also bet Marie Forleo is a highly sensitive person too. The episode caught my attention because it used the word overstimulation, and I thought, ooh, that's something I deal with as a highly sensitive person. I need to know more. She has some very simple tactics in the episode for ways that you can lower your overstimulation throughout the day, because we have more bids for our attention and more information coming at us than we have ever had before, and it's continuing to grow exponentially. So this is really critical for you as a highly sensitive person to be able to control the flow of information to you, to your brain, to your nervous system, and to your emotional center, so that you can go through your day and you're not constantly being overstimulated. There were 2 things from the episode that made me think, that's interesting. I think that would be a little bit of a challenge for me. I think I'm going to try that and see what happens. Number 1, to turn off notifications. I have turned off the badges on my phone, those stupid, annoying little red circles that sit on your apps that alert you that there's another notification or there's something that you've missed. These are particularly egregious on social media apps because it is practically impossible for you not to have missed some update or some alert unless you turn these things off. So I have just gone ahead and turned off all of my badges. A lot of my notifications I've turned off, but I still had notifications on my text messages. I have 3 texting apps, the regular iMessage through my iPhone. I also use Google Voice for my business number, and I use WhatsApp with my international clients because sometimes the connection just doesn't work with our phone numbers. I still had banner notifications and lock screen notifications for all 3 of these text messaging apps, in addition to phone calls and voicemails that might be coming in. And I hate to say it, but I was regularly checking my email and compulsively looking in my podcast app and in my audiobook app just to keep track of what I already knew I have waiting for me to listen to. So I decided to do a 24-hour experiment and just turn off the notifications for my text messages. The only way for me to go in and look at a text message is to open the app itself. I cannot otherwise have any sound or visual notifications that text messages have come in. The second thing that Marie Forleo recommended that I went ahead and tried was to get as many apps off of the home screen as possible. I had 3 screens with icons and apps on them. One was for entertainment, listening, Netflix, that kind of thing. One of them was work-related for my website app and Google Drive and all of those little odds and ends. And then I had another home screen with financials, essentials, timer, weather, Google Maps, etc., etc. I'm not entirely sure how it works on an Android, but at least on an iPhone, you can just scroll all the way to the right and your whole app library will become available to you. And there's a search bar right at the top where you can search the app that you're looking for. And I thought, I wonder if I could pull this off. I got it down to 1 screen with 6 apps. It was the clock app, Google Map, Google Calendar, because that's how I keep track of all 4 of my calendars, settings, and a couple other things like voice memos and reminders. With these 2 things, turning off my text message notifications and clearing off my home screen, something really strange happened. I found myself compulsively going to my phone and opening it up, even though there was nothing there. I wasn't receiving any audio or visual notifications, any signals to turn on my phone. And yet I was still picking it up compulsively and checking it throughout the entire day. This was so interesting for me because I had a suspicion that I was addicted to my phone, but it hadn't really become apparent to me until I turned everything off and there was pretty much radio silence from the phone. You can achieve this same thing by turning on airplane mode or putting your phone in do not disturb or focus mode or sleep, which a lot of us have set on our phones anyway. But intentionally turning off those daytime notifications when my phone was still on really brought up some interesting things for me, which is why I thought this is going to be an interesting topic. If this can help you eliminate some overstimulation in your life and become more present and not feel as addicted to your devices and your screens, then I have to share this message today because it is really, really important for you and me as highly sensitive people to have time away from our screens and from our technology. I had the bad habit in the morning of immediately waking up, checking my email, checking my text messages, playing Wordle first thing in the morning, and then I would cycle through my Overcast app, which is where I listen to podcasts. Highly recommend. It is super clean. There are no ads. There's no extra fluff or stuff. It's just a super simple, super clean podcast app that just has podcasts, no visuals. And I would go into the Libby app, which is the library's access for ebooks and for e-audiobooks. Even though I didn't have any of these notifications, even though they weren't on my home screen, I was actively going into my phone, scrolling over to the right side to look at my entire app library and pulling up these apps, even though none of the information had changed. And here's the interesting part. I had one phone call during the day. It was a telemarketer. And I received two text messages over the course of that day. This was last Thursday, I think. So it could very well have been that my family and friends were just busy doing their things. But for whatever reason, I just didn't get any text messages that day. I was not missing anything. And yet I kept checking my phone and I kept picking it up. Recently, I came up with a great solution for my office, which comes directly from my previous career as a professional organizer. I had a bunch of supplies and miscellaneous office things and electronics that were sitting around either on the floor of my closet or sitting on top of the shelf or on little side tables because the desk that I use is really minimal and it's literally just 4 legs and a top. I bought one of those plastic shoe organizers that you hang over the back of the door and it's see-through. So I put all of my little thank you notes, all of my tiny notepads, all of my extra pens, all of my ink cartridges, tidied them all up and I put them on the back of the door and it looks so good. It's so organized. It gets everything up off the floor. I can see it all at a glance and then I can close the closet door and I don't have to look at it anymore, just like you would do with a desk drawer. There is one pocket left that wasn't used for an office supply or for an electronic. And I thought, that is the spot for my phone. Immediately, my mind was like, touching my pearls. You can't put your phone in there. Your phone is not an office supply. Your phone is your phone. It's really important. How could you possibly put it in there with the rest of your random stuff? And I thought, this is my brain telling me that I'm addicted to this device and that I need to put it in there. I put it in there for 45 minutes and that was one of the most focused 45 minutes I have had in a very long time. All of the studies and all of the statistics say that if your phone is within sight of you, it is still distracting, even if you put it on Do Not Disturb. I can 100% agree with this. I have gotten coached on this a few times in the last week, and I will probably continue to get coached on this because the longer I go without my phone at arm's reach, the more interesting things come up. I had some fears, like what if there's an emergency? What if I need to reach someone? What if someone needs to reach me and I don't have it available? Isn't that interesting? For the majority of the population, text messaging and instant messaging were not available to us in the 90s and early 2000s. Even for kids now, there have a lot of parents limit the screen time that their kids have so that they have opportunities to play and to be present and to learn without constantly being distracted or overstimulated by their screens. All of us have had times in our lives where we have not been attached to our screens and we have not relied on technology to entertain us, to educate us, to inform us, or just to make us feel like we're constantly connected. Another interesting thing that came up for me was feeling bored and feeling lonely. I teach a course, it's called Emotional Alchemy, and it's a 6-week course teaching highly sensitive people like you and me to feel our emotions that we tend to push aside and we tend to ignore. Now, when I designed this course, I was thinking specifically of sadness, guilt, fear, anxiety, anger, things that felt a little bit more obvious. But I had completely missed the emotions of boredom and loneliness. And it turns out it's because anytime that I would even start to feel that way, I would reach for my phone. I haven't felt bored and I haven't felt lonely in a very long time. Probably since I got a smartphone. It made me realize that there were emotions that I wasn't even really acquainted with in my own body and in my own mind because I've been so busy distracting myself from them for so long. Over the last week, I have used my own tools. I've been feeling the emotions in my body. I've been sitting with them. I've been working through the emotions instead of trying to distract or to work around the emotions. And it has been really incredible. I'm decluttering stuff in my brain that I don't need. I've actually had 2 major breakthroughs on my business, and new ideas are coming to me all the time because I'm not constantly distracting myself. And I'm thinking about my relationships and I'm thinking about my connections differently. Now I continue to process through these emotions of boredom and loneliness, which have actually created more creativity, more connection, and more desire to create value and to serve and help people like you. It has done me a huge favor to cut the overstimulation that I had from my phone. And to be totally honest, this is an ongoing journey. I've literally only been at it for a week, but I haven't put anything back on my home screen. And in fact, I took everything off of my home screen. It is a complete blank slate. So I have no idea what I'm going to put there yet, but it's exciting to think about it. Could be a vision board, could just be something I want to keep in mind, could just be a really beautiful photo that I want to see all the time. I'm not sure yet, but I get to decide. And I have not turned on my notifications in the last week. And I have to say, it's been pretty nice because now I just schedule time to check the text messages or I schedule time to check the email, and then I can focus and be very, very present with where I am. Anytime boredom or loneliness come up, I don't freak out about it. I sit with them and I give myself a lot of grace and a lot of time and a lot of acceptance for not having felt these emotions in a very long time. There are 10 super simple things that I want you to think about as a highly sensitive person that could seriously help you improve the overstimulation that you probably don't even realize you have on a daily basis. We have gotten so accustomed to being overstimulated, to being constantly in contact, and to being deluged by information from our technology that you might not even notice how overstimulated you are until you take some breaks from it. So I want you to focus on maybe 1 or 2 things from this list. Don't be an overachiever in this instance and try and do all 10 at once, because that is when you will get stuck, you'll freeze, and you won't be able to get any of them done. I want you to pick the 1 or 2 that feel really interesting to you, that make you very curious, and then just try them out for 24 hours or 48 hours or 72 hours. Or if you're really bold, try them out for a week and see what happens for you and your nervous system. I would hazard a guess. You will feel more focused. You will have better attention. You will be more mindful and have more presence in your social interactions. And you will be more accepting of yourself and more aware of the impact that technology has in your life. You deserve to have a wonderful life as a highly sensitive person and not be constantly overstimulated every single day because you think that's just how it has to be. Here are 10 super simple ways that are geared specifically to your high sensitivity to help you manage overstimulation and go through your day with so much more ease and focus and energy. The first one is to try turning off your notifications. This might feel very scary for you. I know that that is a concern for parents, that they need to be in touch of their children or their grandchildren. Maybe you try this out for a little while. Instead of turning off all the notifications, you turn off certain notifications. Maybe you turn off the notifications in your lock screen, but you keep them on in your home screen, or maybe you turn the sound off and you keep the visuals on. Try to experiment with the part that feels most distracting for you. And if you're willing to be very brave, turn off all the notifications for 24 hours and see what happens. You will probably discover, like I did, that there are not nearly as many emergencies as you think there are. Number 2, try to clear your visual clutter. I was able to clear the home screen on my phone, and this shut down so many cues I had to check my podcast app, to check my audiobooks, to check my emails. They just aren't there anymore. My email app is not on my home screen. It's in the side app where I can search all of my apps, and it has made a huge difference on my day. There is no email that is so important that I need to check it during the day. Plus, I would rather check it on my laptop anyway. For you, it could be your home screen on your phone, but it could be your desktop on your laptop or on your computer or your Mac. Your desktop probably has a lot of icons. Even if you're just glancing at your desktop, it might seem like a small thing, but it does make a difference. The top of your desk might be something, or the kitchen table, if that's where you like to work and that's where you like to do things. If there's a lot of clutter there, you are so much more susceptible to this as a highly sensitive person than the rest of the people in your household. If you are highly sensitive and also have ADHD, this is even worse for you. And I know if you have ADHD, you have this out of sight, out of mind fear that something important could be removed and then you won't know what to do with it. I understand. And you can have designated spots where you keep important things. And then just for an hour, you set those things aside and you focus on exactly what you're doing at the place where you're doing it. Full disclosure, I had a bunch of stuff on my desk and I was totally about to record this episode with my notebook and my physical therapy exercises from my wrist surgery and the AirPods that I don't intend to use for this recording and lots of little miscellaneous things. And yes, my phone was totally on my desk. And I can't be a hypocrite and record this episode with a desk full of stuff. So my desk now has nothing on it except for my laptop, my recording equipment, and a glass of water. That is it. And yes, I did put my phone in the little pocket in my closet and the door is closed. I am walking my talk here. If you have a studio, if you have an office, wherever your workspace is, if you have a room that's all yours, maybe it's a guest room where you keep some of your extra stuff, or it's a special corner in the living room, clear the clutter and try to get as much visual clutter away from you as possible. You don't even realize how much your highly sensitive brain is attuned to all of the extra visual stimulus that's going on around you. This is hugely important for you as a highly sensitive person to limit the amount of input that you have around you and to control your environment so that it's a place where you feel like you can focus, you can be present, and you can do the thing that you want to do with minimal distractions. Number 3 is to get your highly sensitive buns outside. Nature is across the board important for highly sensitive people. Having time in nature is good for every human's nervous system. It helps us get back into creativity. It reduces the amount of cortisol and other stress hormones that we have in our bodies. Being in nature is good for you physically, mentally, and emotionally. It's the triple threat of things that you can do to help yourself feel good on a regular basis. Get outside. Even if it's just stepping out onto your front porch or on your back porch or driving to a local park, wherever you can find some green space, be there, even if it's just for 5 minutes a day. This is really important. And I know it can seem so easy to just ignore it, especially if you work from home or if you're inside a lot of the day. It can feel like I don't have time to get outside. My schedule is too full. I am telling you, spend 5 minutes at the minimum outside, and this will make a huge difference on your day. Number 4, set time aside to scroll. Yes, this sounds counterintuitive because for many of us, the scroll is what tends to distract us and it's what tends to overstimulate us in the first place. However, I would argue that there is room for scrolling, and I would love for you to check out the episode I have on the 4 types of rest, because scrolling on socials is actually a decompression activity for many, many highly sensitive people. I don't know about you, but a lot of my favorite comedians have hilarious shorts on Instagram and TikTok, and I like spending some time there because they make me laugh. Laughter is really good for us. So I love being in those spaces for limited amounts of time because it makes me happy. And then I have funny things that I can share with my friends, and I have things that I can refer back to that just further our connections and helps me grow my relationships with others. The problem comes when you are spending so much time scrolling, or if you are addicted to checking your socials because you're bored and you don't want to feel that way, or you're confused because you don't know what to do, and so you pick up your phone just to scroll. That is when the issue comes into play. Set time aside to do the scroll and do it guilt-free. One of my clients sets aside a half an hour every single day to check in on Instagram just to see what her loved ones are up to. Once her half-hour timer goes off, she remembers to put the phone down and she doesn't feel like she's gone past her time limit and she's worked against herself. This is really, really powerful. Not using your mental energy on the guilt about the doom scroll is probably going to save you just as much time and energy and distraction and overstimulation as limiting the amount of time that you're scrolling itself. Number 5 is to refine your to-do list. Another one of my clients was treating her to-do list like every single thing on it was of equally high importance and equally high priority. Many of us highly sensitive people treat our to-do lists like this, and yet they're never ending. We overstimulate and overwhelm ourselves to the point that we don't even take steps on the tasks anyway. So what this particular client discovered is that her to-do list is actually her first draft. When she goes back through the to-do list, she makes at least one other pass and decides what's the top 50% that I need to take care of in the near future, whether that's today or whether that's tomorrow. And then the rest of it is just nice to haves. This could be a game changer for you to look at your to-do list and to spend a little bit of prioritizing. What's the top 50% and what's the 50% that's just nice to have and you can get to it later? That could be a huge win for you. But then talk about a third pass or a fourth pass when you're taking things off that you decide, I really don't want to do that at all. Maybe that was a request from someone else, and it turns out that you could delegate it. You don't have to do it. There's an easier way to do it. You could automate it. The more you treat your to-do list like a rough draft, the easier it will be for you to A, prioritize, but B, take things off the list that don't belong there in the first place. So many highly sensitive people and sensitive people completely overwhelm themselves with their own to-do lists. And the thing is, most of this stuff is optional. No one's forcing you to put these things on your list. No one is making you do the things that you're trying to do. You're the one who's adding them. So you have complete control and complete power to choose what stays on the list and what doesn't. Number 6, create a plan for emergencies. This comes directly from my experience turning the notifications off on my phone. I had a huge sense of panic that if there was an emergency, I would miss something and something horrible could happen and I would be unavailable. And I had this fear that it would make me selfish or it would make me an uncaring person because I would miss something that was truly important and truly an emergency. So instead, what I did was keep the notifications off, but I looked into emergency bypass, which at least on iPhone means that when someone calls through to you, they will get through your do not disturb if you have them set as one of your emergency contacts. This helped me calm my nervous system and know that if there truly is an emergency, I have a plan for it. Now, this is just step one. There are plenty of other things that now that I'm thinking about it, I actually feel like I have the opportunity without my phone to do some problem solving and to anticipate and to prepare for things down the line that I never would have considered until an emergency when I didn't have my phone available. This is one of your superpowers as a highly sensitive person, that you are really good at looking at the future, anticipating what could go wrong, and making lots of backup plans for it. You probably have a plan B, a plan C, a plan D, and a plan E for anything that you're particularly worried about. So this is a great opportunity for you to plan for an emergency. What will happen if your phone dies or it drops in a body of water or it gets stolen or you lose it? What can you do instead to get in touch with the people that you need to? What happens if you're out and about and you need to contact someone and you don't have your phone? Do you have their phone numbers memorized? These are just a few questions to ask yourself. Don't use this as an opportunity to overstimulate yourself. Pick one thing to focus on that helps you feel secure in case there is a legitimate emergency, and then plan for it. Number 7 is use clocks, alarms, and timers. I am serious about this. Don't go crazy. Don't set a timer or an alarm for every 15 minutes for various things. That is a surefire way to overstimulate yourself. But if you set an alarm or a timer for yourself, you would be amazed at how much pressure that takes off of your brain to hold something in your short-term memory and make sure that you're not missing anything. I don't know about you, but I don't have many clocks in my home anymore because my phone has been my clock for so long. So one of the things that I'm starting to do is look for ways to incorporate more analog clocks into my day, both because they're useful and because they're beautiful. It helps me keep the phone away so I'm not constantly overstimulated by it. Set alarms, set timers, find ways where you don't have to constantly check your phone in order to feel like you're on top of things because you know that timer is going to go off when you need it to. Pro tip and a little bit of a bonus, set the timer for a few minutes or maybe 10 minutes ahead of when you actually need to leave or when you actually need to initiate a new project or a new action, because that way you have a little bit of transition time. Experiment to see what works for you. How much time is too much time? How much time is too little time? Where's your sweet spot for the amount of time that you need to have for your timers and your alarms? Number 8 is match your tasks to your energy timing. Your energy timing might be different than people that you're close to. You might have your huge burst of energy in the afternoon or in the evening. Lots of people do. I'm a morning person. I've always been a morning person. That feels good for me. My huge burst of energy is usually between 8:30 to 11:30 a.m. I know if there's something really important I need to do, then I need to put it in that time block for me. For instance, I was planning to record this podcast episode yesterday, and I had a coaching session, a mentor session. I ran the practice call, which is 2 hours long, and then I had feedback and evaluations to do. I ran out of energy. I spent 5.5 hours pouring into my clients and my students and helping people become the best that they could be. And I didn't want to sacrifice that, but it also meant I didn't have energy for the podcast. So I recorded it today, first thing. This is the most important task on my day, and that's why I made it first. Whatever your energy looks like, plan your most important tasks or your most creative tasks for those times of the day, and then stick with it. Don't check your emails during that productive time. Don't prioritize other people's requests during that time. Your energy levels are the most important thing that you can utilize as a highly sensitive person. Number 9, be present when you're socializing. This means put your phone in your pocket or in your purse and put it on silent mode. This will be so important for you because connections and relationships are really important for us highly sensitive people. We thrive on the group of people who we are really close to and who are most important to us. The more you can set those screens aside, this will help you feel so much more connected and so much more mindful, and you will feel that deep connection in your relationships that you don't feel when you're constantly distracting yourself with screens and activities. And number 10, spend time away from screens in general. This might be something that you need to build up as a skill. You might need to spend a little bit of time practicing being away from screens and being away from constant entertainment, constant contact, and constant stimulation. Try it for just 5 minutes a day, like a meditation practice. Put the phone into a pocket in your closet, put it in a different room, put it in your bag, put it in a desk drawer. Whatever it is that you need to try, practice and experiment with spending a little bit of time away from your screens. Screens are one of the easiest ways for highly sensitive people to be overstimulated, and you will do yourself such a huge favor by strengthening this muscle and growing this skill that anyone can learn to be able to put your screen away. Just a quick recap, 10 easy things that you can do as a highly sensitive person to be able to help your overstimulation and have more focus, more creativity, and more energy are: number 1, turn off your notifications as much as possible and personalize it to you. Number 2, clear the visual clutter, whether that's on your screens or in your physical space, because your environment is important. Number 3, get your buns outside. Nature is crucial for all humans, but especially you as a highly sensitive person. Number 4, set aside time to scroll so that you can do it guilt-free. This can actually be a great chance for you to decompress, to laugh, to be entertained, and then to move on to the next thing. Number 5, refine your to-do list. Multiple passes on your to-do list might be one of the most powerful things that you can do to stop overstimulating yourself. Nobody's making you put these things on your to-do list, but you have the power and the agency to refine it and adjust it. Number 6, create your plan for emergencies. This is your superpower as a highly sensitive person, to look ahead, to anticipate, and then to take actions and to make leaps. Come up with plans for your emergencies and take this a step at a time so that you're always prepared for things that can come up. Number 7, use clocks, alarms, and timers so that you can set a timer and then you can forget about it. You can put your phone on the other side of the room and have your focus time, and you know that timer is going to go off when you need it to, so you don't have to pay attention to it. Number 8, match your tasks to your energy timing. If you're a morning person, don't do emails right away. Do your most important task right away. If you're an afternoon or an evening person, plan your most creative time or your most productive time for those times of day, and try to clear your appointments, your schedule as much as you can, even if it's a half-hour increment. That can still be enough. That's 3.5 hours in your entire week if you're spending half an hour a day just doing the most important things during your highest energy time. Number 9, be present when you're socializing. Put the screens away, turn them on silent, and do activities that don't involve sitting in front of the TV, playing video games, or sharing things from TikTok or from Instagram on your phone. Have conversations, play games, go for walks, find activities that are not screen related so that you can lower your overstimulation and be present. And number 10, just spend some time away from your screens. Even if it's 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, practice building that skill and building that muscle of spending time away from your screens. This is so important for you, highly sensitive person, and you deserve to have a calm nervous system that allows you to prioritize and do the things that you want to do in your day. Whether you pick one or two of these things, I highly encourage you to start finding simple ways that work for you to cut the overstimulation out of your life, because it will make a huge difference to you, and it will change the way that you live your life, and it will reset the way that you pay attention and use your energy. If you liked this episode and you want to learn more, go to stephanielinn.com, that's Linn, and book a consultation call with me. I am continually finding new ways that I can cut back on overstimulation and be more creative and more present with my clients, my friends, and my loved ones. You can have this too. This is entirely possible for you. You might not even be aware of how much this is affecting your life, in which case this call could be transformational for you. It is a completely free 60-minute call. If you are interested in working with a coach to help you lower your overstimulation and get more done with more joy and more energy as a highly sensitive person, I would love to help you. It's part accountability partner, part someone who believes in you even when you don't believe in it yourself, and it's someone who can help you make a plan and take action every single step of the way, because this really is possible for you, highly sensitive person. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope my story inspired you and that you try one of these 10 super simple, super quick and easy tips. I promise they will make a difference in your life, even one step at a time. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next week.
Thanks for listening. If you're ready to take what you learned today to the next level, head over to stephanielinn, that's Linn.com, and book a consultation call to get started. I can't wait to see you there, my dear HSP.